For today's project, Roman and I are going to be working in the basement. We are going to be installing a ginormous I-beam over here, and then we are going to be installing 2 more I-beams over on this side. Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Corn Star. Welcome to the 100% restoration and remodel of my great-great-grandfather's $7,000 mansion, and welcome to Cornstar Farms. Before I jump down into the basement and start talking about today's project scope, I need to build a little bit of context. This ginormous I-beam that we have sitting on the telehandler right now is called I-beam number 1. And then if we turn around, we have I-beam number 2 and I-beam number 3 right here. So just remember, I-beam number 1, I-beam number 2 and 3. Hopping down into the basement now, today is one of the most impactful days we have had working on the basement since we started down here. The basement has proven to be a project that is, it's been a can of worms. You get into one thing and then you open up something else, and then that opens up something else, and then that ends up opening something else. And it has ultimately resulted in Roman and I working down here for the last several months. And I think today is going to be a pivoting point. So remember I-beams 1, 2, and 3? Well, today we are going to be installing I-beam number 1 right here. That is going to allow us to be able to get rid of these posts. And then I-beam number 2 and I-beam number 3 are going to go over here. We're going to put them right on top of the center wall, and they are going to run in that cavity, all the way over to our exterior foundation wall. And that is going to allow us to be able to remove this post. With that being said, we are going to start with I-beam number 1. So we need to get the telehandler down in here with I-beam number 1 on it, and then somehow get it shoved through the hole in the side of the house to get it into the basement. Since I-beam number 1 is a little bit of a doozy, I don't want this thing to get a little tippy on the forks and then end up tipping off when I'm making my way down into the underground movie theater ramp, so that way we can get it up in there. So I'm gonna try to chain this thing down before we get too wild. So hopefully this will keep it from at least flipping off. I've had pretty good luck so far with everything we've brought down in, so we don't really need the last big item that we're bringing down to change that for us. If I can see my hook right here. Doesn't need to be a lot, just enough to just keep her from moving. Let's see what we got now. Definitely not enough to keep it from falling off. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. We'll give it a try. If it falls off, I guess it falls off. It's better than doing nothing. We will just go very carefully. How about that? I'm really glad that we did chain this down, because when I came down, I ended up smoking the side of the bank and it shoved the I-beam way into the dirt. And if the chains wouldn't have been there, we definitely would have lost the I-beam. But we got everything into position now, and we got ourselves at the right angle. So we are ready to shoot this straight into the basement. So we're gonna grab the skid loader now, and we're gonna push on this end, and then we're gonna use the forks as a sliding point. And then once we get into the basement, Roman's got some boards laid down in there that we're hoping we can also use as sliding points, so that way we're not just digging down into the gravel, because if the beam falls on the gravel, it's just gonna do this, and then it's gonna stop us. But if we have a board on top, so if my arm's the board, the beam will get up on there, and then it'll just be able to slide right across the tops of the boards.
While everything is preset and we're waiting for Cole to bring the skid loader to shove this in, I'm gonna get things ready inside here, because once we put the beam up, there will be no access to our welding point. We need to clean this rust off as much as we can, not perfectly, but do a good job, so then when Cole's friend, who is the welder, comes in, he'll be able just to come in and start welding without any trying to get in and clean all this up. If I remember right, Justin and I took quite some time to make sure that this wall is actually parallel to the outside and pretty centered. So that was my reference point. I already made 2 marks where our beam is gonna sit, which should be parallel to this wall. And I made the same mark on the other side, meaning that's where our I-beam is gonna attach. And that's the area that I'm gonna concentrate on cleaning right now. Let's wait to clear out. It's pretty dusty and rusty. Here's what we got as a result. I know it doesn't look like much changed, but we took this rusty crust off, and this is good enough for the stick weld. That's what Nick is gonna use to weld the two I-beams. And stick welder does not require the surface to be perfectly clean. You can have some rust and imperfections. This is gonna be just fine for it. And as far as my knowledge goes, what he's gonna be doing here, I think I prepared everything that we needed, because he might be welding a little plate here as a shelf to set the beam on and tie them together, and then he also be welding the webbing that's gonna be inserted inside. So long story short, I think we got it clean enough and ready to go.
Our shimmy and slide method seemed to work pretty good. We were able to take the telehandler and get our beam all the way inside now. So the center of the beam is about right here, and the center of the room where we need to have the center of the beam is about right here. So our next step could be a little bit tricky, but what we are going to try to do, we have a winch upstairs. We're gonna bring that right to our center point, and then we're gonna drill a hole, and then we're gonna lower our winch cable through, and then we need to somehow hook it up to this beam, and then see if maybe we can lift it up and then kind of maneuver it around these poles a little bit. Then once we're around this pole, then we'll be able to hook up into the center and just winch it straight up to the ceiling. And then once it's up to the ceiling, we just got to get everything locked in on that end. We'll get a post made over on this end, and we'll have our beam up. The winch that we are using has a pretty big hook on the end of it, so I'm gonna look inside the shed and see if I can maybe find a smaller clevis that's about this tall, so that way when we're hooking back up to the cable just like this and wrapping it around the beam, this hook area won't be in the way. We had some troubles in the past when we had it set up right here and we were lifting up our first beam. This ended up getting pinched against the floor joist, and when we needed to lift it the last inch or so, and that became a little bit of a problem. So we're gonna see if we can avoid that today by getting a smaller hook. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a clevis, but I did find something that I think is going to work. So we're just gonna pull this existing hook off, so now we have the bare end of our cable, and I'm gonna try to figure out a way to attach this chain to it.
The beam is laying and ready to be lifted up, but before we do it, we need to actually think what's gonna happen when we start lifting up. We have our mark of the center of the beam is 12.5 feet, and ironically enough, it falls right in the middle of two floor joists. So we need to drill a hole for our winch on either side, and Cole and I talked about which side we should drill, and we came to conclusion that this side would be better, because when we do drill it and start lifting it, it will actually pull the beam into our current beam. Therefore, it's gonna keep the tension up against two beams, which what we want for welding purposes. The only problem we might have with other beam pushing into this one that we installed previously is that this one can actually slide out of place because it's not installed permanently yet. Nothing is really holding it but just the weight of the beam itself that sits on two ends. So I have my pointer stick. So what we're gonna do is put blocks of wood that would hold the back of it and prevent it from the sliding and having us running into the trouble. I believe it should work, and that's what we're gonna do next. Here we are. I know it doesn't look professional, but what's the point in spending time on something that's gonna come down anyway? This is gonna do the job. The beam now up against these boards, and when we come in with a new one and apply pressure into this one, it's not gonna move. And I guess the last step, I'm just gonna nip this corner just in case. No one wants to have an owie on your head.
Meanwhile, at the main heated shop on Cornstar Farms.
All right, today's Thursday. We got ourselves a busy day. Working on the combine again. Yeah, me and Zach started a little bit ago. We got tires filled there, hydraulic oil's good, engine oil's good, new fuel filter on. Right now we're working on getting the cameras mounted on the front and back of the machine. Well, and the tank in the back of the machine. We got one right here. I don't know if you can see it. Right about there. That way you can see what's behind you going down the road, because some people have a tendency of just going right up on your butt and you can't see them. So that, and then when you're backing up in the yard or in the field or whatever, you can see whatever is behind you. So that one will go there. And then the other one, we're still trying to figure out where we're gonna put that in the grain tank. We gotta fold the hopper to see where it's gonna clear. We'd like to put it up on these big side panels right here, because they stick like 1.5 feet, 2 feet higher than like where the grain can actually be. I don't know if you can see it up there. So we'd like to get up as high as possible so you can see the whole tank, but more likely it'd be kind of where that Demco sticker is on the inside. And then that way, when you know when the corn hits the camera, it's full. So we need to get those mounted. Zach ran to town quick. He had to get a cigarette lighter plug-in for the power for the monitor. But right now I'm actually working on making a bracket to hang it in the cab here. So we can put the monitor in there. So there is a screen in here. The Pro 700 is capable of running cameras, but it is not capable, or so I've been told, it cannot run HD cameras, which I'm sure probably stands for high definition. It will not run these cameras, so we have to put that monitor in, which I'm not like super thrilled about, but it's whatever. So I just made this bracket here, piece of angle iron, 3 inches long, cut a square out here. So that way we can mount it like this. We'll mount it flat, and then our monitor will be able to sit at an angle. So I got to drill 2 holes here in this back plate so I can get that mounted. And we got to drill 1 hole here. I'm hoping to be able to just use that hole there. It does come with this whole thing. If that's the case, I don't know. Well, I might have. I can drill new holes, but we can mount this on there if we have to. But I'm kind of hoping I can just use that 1 hole, but I don't know how much it's gonna rattle. So we're gonna drill these 2, get that, and then we'll drill 1 here and get it mounted and see what it feels like. And if it doesn't feel stable, we'll go ahead and put that on. But I think since we're gonna have a flat surface, this will kind of sit under here like so. Anyways, you get the idea. I'll show you guys here in a little bit. All right, here's what we came up with. Said I did a magnet, so we're not drilling holes in our metal here. It's like a 300-pound magnet. So these things have stupid suction. It ain't moving that thing. So we're gonna put that there. And then this should go like this. And now we have a clean mount under our other screens. So I'm gonna mark my hole here, see where that needs to go. And then that's kind of what it's gonna look like. Should work good. And we have 3 screens in here. How exciting, we're big BTOs now. We have so many screens. So I'm gonna drill that hole and slap some paint on that thing. Be good to go. All right, the most exciting part. We are hooking up the new power cord. The old one got chewed off by my dog Maverick. Okay, we got power. We don't have any cameras plugged in yet, so it's just gonna be a blue screen. But we gotta go help Zach now, so we'll come back to this.
Now that we got our hook situation figured out, we need to find the center point of where our beam is going to go. It's probably going to be somewhere in here, and we need to drill a hole in the floor so that way we can get our winch located right over the center hole and then drop our cable down. Our beam is 25 feet long, so the middle of it is 12.5 feet. We measured 12.5 feet on the ceiling already, and it puts us right here on this line. This line is smack right in the center of these 2 floor joists. So we either have to pick the right side or we have to pick the left side. Left or right, Roman?
left.
Roman is simply just taking a screw right now. He's gonna screw up through the floor, and then we will know where we need to drill our hole.
So I'm gonna go up and sit approximately where you're gonna be screwing, and then I'll stop you as I know that's what screw pokes.
Sounds like a great idea. We need to be careful where we are stepping up here because there's a screw sticking straight up through the floor somewhere. I do not see it yet. Oh, there it is, right there. Right there, sticking up. So that's where we need to drill, right on top of that screw. So this is a normal drill bit that we would use to drill through the wood, and this is a special hole saw bit. This is an adjustable one. I don't know how old this thing is. I would guess maybe like a 1990. It doesn't really work the best if you're trying to be super precise with it, but for what we're doing here, it is absolutely going to work perfect. So we got our pilot hole in the middle, and then as we lower it in, then these little teeth will chip our circle away. Hey, Roman! Hi! Ah! 87 pounds. I would not have guessed that. We just had our first little whoopsie of the day. Our T30 bit, it just decided to explode on itself. And so now we have two T30 bits and both of them are useless. So if I can get this out, are going to need to get another one.
Next got the wire ran all the way from the back, all the way down the engine bay, down the side here, and up into the cab. Now we're gonna do the inside one, but we gotta pull the combine outside. We're gonna mount the camera up top C. Someone's gotta stand the tank and we'll fold it. See where we can put that camera in there without it hitting anything when it folds in. And then we'll get that one set, get it all zip tied down. And hopefully that's done. Then we need to, we're gonna mount some more rubber flapping here on the ends, maybe, to try to divert more crop into our spreaders, because this design by Case is nice, like having the vertical spreaders, but we get such a bad strip and heavy residue of trash in the middle that what doesn't make it into the spreader. And so you can see it in our crop and planting, and when it comes up you can actually see it's a little low there, so we're definitely getting a yield hit. So we want to try and fix that a little bit. I don't know if we'll get it perfect, but hopefully we can get a little bit better. I know on our next machine, if we go with Case again, we'll be getting horizontal spreaders like the old style that spin like this, instead of having ones that spin like this, Spreads a lot better. I do like this tail because it's super easy to pull two clips and pull it up and it's out of the way, but for the spreading that it does, it's not very good. And especially the 45-foot header, it does not make it all the way to the end of the swath. So you want your coverage to be the same width as your head, so you're covering the whole field instead of just like 30 feet. Then you have strips and you're not covering, spreading it all out. And then when it breaks down everything and gets in the soil, it's not even. So that is one complaint that I do have about this machine. And not having 4.5, that sucks. This bull crap right here is stupid. Anyways, we're gonna shut this panel here, pull it out, and put the camera up. Got our second camera all the way up there, shines this point. You can just see the auger, but as we're up here, Zach realized the bar that holds the auger up, that pulls it up right there, is broke. So we're gonna get all this done, and then, well, the next thing we gotta do is fix that. So we got all the wiring ran from there down over, and then it comes through this rubber grommet right here, drops down, run underneath the cab, up and into the cab. So that's what I'm gonna go do. See if I can get down here without falling. I don't know why they put this here, because it's a great step. It really is. I think it means, please do step. It's opposite day. Do opposite of what the signs say. Okay, we got the old one the old one here. Called in the Case. 200 bucks for this part here. So we straightened it up, and we're just gonna weld this new flat plate on top, fill the cracks here, and it should work. This will add quite a bit of strength. This stuff's pretty thin, and when we went to bend it, it's super soft. So we're just gonna fix it. 200 bucks for that part's pretty steep in my opinion, so I'll fix it. Alrighty, we're getting the last little bit of cabling that's left over right here. Got all the cable ran underneath. Waiting for that to cool down since we just welded that. Or we've messed with that. Come up with the cab. Turn on our monitor. There we go. There's the tank. I'll have to angle it down a little bit. We just want to see this edge here. That's all we really care to see. That we know how close the corn is to the edge. See the tank a little bit, that doesn't matter. And there's the back. And then if you want to put it in split screen, you can. There we go. It's all done. Done, done, done. Because like here you can see what's behind us. If you look in the mirrors, can't really see, so be nice. All right. Before, when this was bent, it was splitting there. And this was all bent up. So we had like a 2.5, 3 inch gap here. Now we're tight. This is straight. Good as new. Now we just gotta clean the cab. We gotta do something in the back of the spreaders here. Wash it, should be done. Here's our fix. We just bolted these deals on. They stick out about 3 inches further. That way we have this gap here. Hopefully it'll throw it into the spreaders a little better. Hopefully it works. Yeah, they're gonna bow down a little bit once they get wore. Then they might nick the spreaders a little bit, but they'll wear. And hopefully that helps a little bit because that's a problem. Okay, everything on the combine is done. Just power washed it quick, got the cab cleaned, wiped the windows down. Only thing we're waiting on, well, we have it. It's that case, we just gotta get it as the chopper knife, but we're gonna be hauling hay Saturday, going right by there, so we'll just grab it then. There's no point in making a special trip up there for that. But other than that, the thing should be 100% field readied. And I don't think there's anything left on it. Don't think. Can't think of anything, but wash my pickup quick. And now I just put some antifreeze in my tractor. I'm gonna go drop my baler. He hooked up the hay rake, or not hay rake, hay mower. And I gotta go mow for a guy, get that done. Then I gotta go pick up a human-sized foosball table someone gave me. I'm gonna try and rent that out, and if I can't get it rented out, well, then maybe I'll just sell it. But I'm gonna go get that. So I'm gonna go do this, get this baler dropped, and we will go mow some hay.
We now have everything hooked up and ready to rock and roll on the top. We're gonna pull our cable down. Hey Roman, do you wanna turn it on to free spin? And once we get our cable down, oh maybe it is, I just gotta pull harder. Then we'll get this thing hooked up around the beam. Then we're gonna try to lift the beam up a little bit, see if we can get it more centered up in the room. And then once we get it centered, then we'll just be able to lift it right up with our winch. This is actually going to work out really slick. Or at least if everything goes well, it's gonna work out slick. We're trying to use vice grips to secure the chain so that way it can't slide. I told Roman I want them so tight you have to use a hammer to get the little thing undone. So Roman just did that. He bent them with his hands. Those vice grips are now junk. After like 14 excruciatingly difficult minutes of pressing the button and lifting up the hoist. We have our big beam up in place. Look at that thing up there. Now, right now, it is solely being held up by our cable. And then on the other end over here, we do have a little notch cut out. Roman cut this out, so it is sitting over the top of this bottom flange. So this end cannot go any lower because it will just hit the beam. But on the other end, we do not have anything right now. So what we are going to try to do next is, Roman's got this bottle jack set up right here. We are going to jack up this wooden LVL beam, and we are going to get weight off of this red post. Then we are going to rob this red post, and we're going to put it over there on top of the concrete that we just poured the other day. So that will hold up our I-beam, and that will be the permanent support post for it. And then we will come back and then put this big post right here in place of where this red one is. Once we actually get this big steel I-beam fully set up into place, this wooden LVL is no longer going to be here. We are going to take it out. So then we'll be able to pull out our temporary post, and we'll be able to pull out this other red post. And then also, before I forget, my friend Nick, he just got off of work. He is going to grab his welding trailer, and then he is going to come out here, and he is going to be welding up this end to weld us to our other I-beam tonight. So we should have all of this done here in the next couple hours. We now have our temporary support in, got everything jacked up. We pulled our red post out. Then when we did that, we decided to measure everything up to make sure that our beam was actually center with the room, so one side wasn't closer to the wall than the other. And we are glad that we did that because we ended up shifting the beam about 5 inches. So we got everything into place now. We did double check our measurement off the center wall. So we have a 1/4 inch discrepancy from that side to that side. So we're calling that good enough. We are now ready to put up our permanent red post over in the corner.
Right there. On this end, it is plumbed going this way, and it is plumb going this way. We got it all squared up right in the center of the beam there, and we cranked it up so we have full pressure on our floor joists over here. And then we went over to this side. We have our big I-beam going this way. We took another pole right here. Same thing. We got it plumb going this way. We got it plumb going this way. We cranked it up. We got it centered up on our I-beam. It is putting force up on our floor joists. Roman just cranked up this side over here. He got everything all pushed up. He is now shimming that end. And then we are going to rob this bottle jack out, place it right here underneath of the big I-beam that we just put up. We'll lift this up. It'll allow it to flatten itself out, and it will be in perfect position. And it is perfect timing because if my ears worked right, it sounds like Nick just pulled in with his welder.
Professionals here.
Number one, who's not Nick. See, Nick's going down the ladder the correct way.
Yeah, OSHA approved.
The OSHA approved. 3 points of contact at all times.
You've been docile. Look at this. This is the welder on wheels.
This thing used to generate a city of 100,000 people. It was just about perfect timing with Nick, and I feel bad leaving him there doing all the welding. Roman's gonna stay and help him, but I get to be dad tonight. I'm going to watch my 2 boys while my wife goes off and does some stuff. So Roman and Nick are going to finish up with the welding, and I get to play with my boys.
Is it gonna hold, Cooper?
No,
No?
probably not. With knowing who's gonna be walking through this house, jeez. Looks good.
Well, if you didn't read the context, Nick's welder broke down and we're gonna stop for the night. But the good news is that there is enough weld to hold everything, and basically we can, or Nick or somebody else or whoever can weld it anytime. We can take all the middle posts out and basically the beam is done. We're wrapping up here with Nick. And something I noticed, you all know that the person is the welder when they have a pin hitch holder thing as a welding rod.
Back at the house this morning, absolutely beautiful day. It's supposed to be about 80 degrees last night. It sounds like Nick got some welding done over on this side. This all looks nice. And then once he got over here, I guess he had some welder problems. So this side is not done, but I guess this side is strong enough to hold everything up. So we have a clear span all the way across to the other side now. With I-beam number 1 now in place, we are ready to install I-beams number 2 and I-beams number 3 over here. I-beams number 2 and 3 that are going to be going up here are 20 feet long right now, so we need to cut a little bit off. We just don't know exactly how much. We've measured this before, but you know how the old saying goes, measure twice, cut once. So we're gonna feed this over to the other side and see where we need to cut those I-beams. 194 inches, 16 feet 2 inches if we're butted all the way to the end. I'm going to pause on the I-beam for just a little bit. Roman's probably gonna get measuring things while I'm off doing this, but my brother just called me. I guess he needs some part number or something off of this trailer right here on the left. He's at the semi place right now. So we're gonna dive under this trailer and hopefully there's not a raccoon or something under there that's gonna try to get me. Oh boy. That's a great question where I need to look. Is there a way to turn a light on FaceTime? Is it between the 2 axles or is it on the front axle?
Between the 2 axles. If you crawl up, it'll be kind of centered. If not, kick back to your right just a little bit. You'll see it's got lines that go to each brake canister.
Okay, I'll crawl under there. Hold on, I gotta turn my light on.
Yeah, it should be the one with the most lines in it. I can't see it, but you can send us pictures of it.
Okay.
You'll see, if you turn your light on, you'll see that I pinned a tag on the top of it with my finger. You'll be able to tell.
Okay, sounds good. That one. Perfect. This thing right here. Okay, we got pictures sent off to Cooper. He's gonna get parts for this. There must be something with the brakes on it or something. We're gonna go back to cutting those beams now. We now have our I-beams cut at 16 feet 2 inches. We took a grinder to the end and got all of our burrs smoothed off of here, and then we took the hose and a brush because all the oil that we were using to run our Sawzall to make it cut easier is kind of making a big sticky mess over everything. So we got everything brushed off, washed off. These are all chained down to the forks now. We are ready to load them down the ramp and try to shove them in the basement.
Shove them in. Go ahead and shove them in.
Okay, we got one done here. Next day here, I guess. Sorry. Next day, Friday. We got this one done. We had to move these 2 brackets down. So when they were up here, this frame's actually roll a little bit. So it was one angle the brackets, we moved them down, so now they're all the same height. So that one's done, and we got 3 left. 2 air leaks that we fixed underneath. There was 1 valve that was bad on the air tank. And then there was a air line that was, wire got hot, burnt a hole in it. And then we got 1 fitting in here we got to put in. put that in quick so we can start this, we can build air, get our block out. And then we'll start doing the other 3. Get these done. I'm hoping we don't have to raise the 5th wheel. Not a lot of room. So we'll see. We got to get hooked up to a trailer and go out of a steep incline, see what it looks like. So we might have to jack that up 2-3 inches. All right, just like that, fenders are done. Look good. Just like that. Took us 42 minutes to do that side. About the same to do this side. So we just gotta put mud flaps on the back of this truck. But if you guys want to get some of these fenders for yourself, I highly recommend them. We have them. We've had them on our white truck for 2 years now, and they still look like they did when we put them on. So if you guys want to go check them out, check out robmar.com. The link will be down below if you want to click on that and go look at their website. They got, like I said, they got all different colors and sizes for whatever tire size you have. And then they also have dumpster tops, I believe, too. So I don't know if you need any new dumpster tops, but they got it. So like I said, go check them out. We're super pumped to get these on these trucks. Now that we have nicer trailers, we try to keep the rocks down and also not beat up the truck as well. So we got our rear mud flaps on. Had to cut the old ones off, drill some new brackets. Another thing to do, not so quick because we don't have the right brackets, I guess, but we're gonna modify them to make them work. This air tank in the back had a broken strap. Gotta drill a couple new holes. And we got one more air line to fit. Oh, we just got done with Freightliner. Well, we thought, pull it outside, and we could, one tire that was losing air, but we couldn't figure out where. Well, I just cleaned the wheels with acid, and it's leaking around the beads. So I don't know if the bead's dirty, I'm hoping so. We're gonna pull that back in, pull the tire off, clean up the bead, put the tire back on. But Zach's finishing up Elmo. Just gotta put a tarp cord on it because the trailer this truck's gonna pull will have a electric tarp. So we're putting electric tarp cords on every truck in case one breaks down. We got a flop, whatever, they can go on whatever. But this truck will for sure be on a trailer with electric tarp. So getting that on. Elmo will be 100% ready. Freightliner is almost ready. We just got to fix that tire, and we got one airline that we're gonna fix, but we're gonna wait till we get the trailer on it because the trailer that it's pulling needs a new brake valve, and the red Volvo is 100% ready. So the trailer that this truck's going on is 100% ready. The trailer that truck's going on 100% is ready. That one just needs an air valve. The trailer that is going on that needs an air valve, and that will be ready. Then we'll be done with trucks. Well, we gotta check over the white Volvo quick, but I think we'll just check air pressures and oil and should be good. All right, got jacked up, tire off. Come to our rim here. You can see much crap's built up on here. Take a grinder, get all that ground off. Hopefully that's our problem. That's it, probably is. I don't really know how I didn't notice all that, but we'll get her cleaned up with flat disc. Okay, I got the tire back on here. We're gonna spray some glass cleaner around it. Check for any bubbles. And from what I see, I don't see nothing. This is good. Hopefully we fixed our problem. Stuff like that, at least we caught it before we went to the field. Now we don't have to worry about it because we exactly looked the tire over and we couldn't find it. Washed the tire with acid, and I went to go scrub the wheel and I could hear it, and there he was, a bunch of bubbles, so should be good.
Beams number number 2 and 3 being considerably lighter than beam number 1, Roman and I were able to drag these in here with our hands. So we are now ready to drill our center hole in the floor over there, just like we did right here with this one. Then we'll lower our cable down all the way over to this side, grab it right in the middle. We'll just pick it up and basically drag it over there to that white pole. And then once it's in position, and we'll just go straight up. Actually, I take that back. We are going to have this LVL beam in the way, so our center hole is actually going to have to be somewhere right here. So we are going to have to cut out one of these slots in the center wall, so that way we can actually get our I-beam in, because from that LVL right there to that LVL is 16 feet, and our beams are 16 feet 2 inches. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of the tippy, slidey, pushy, get it in there, lift it up more, then the slidey, 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 in place, done.
We were thinking it's a 1,000 pound I-beam, but being 1,000, I didn't know if I would be able to do this. Being the center, even being here, so the distance is greater from the center. So I don't think it's a 1,000 pound I-beam, if I can do it.
Oh, so it's probably like 450 kilograms.
454 kilograms, yep. And before we proceed, and regret that we proceeded, we're gonna put a bunch of blocks around here so we don't hit this accidentally and bust it all.
There we go in.
Now this pyramid of Giza should protect the pipe, and I hope it's gonna work, which I think we should be okay.
Now that we have our 2 holes cut, we actually need to cut out this top plate and remove this particular stud right here, so that way we can open things up and get that all cut out. Now, I know it sounds like we are ruining the wall by doing that, but we are actually going to be taking 2x6s and filling this entire cavity full, so that way it will act as a ginormous post inside of the wall made out of 2x6s instead of a big post made out of a big piece of wood like that one is. So it's gonna look a little ugly here for a minute, but once we get everything back in, it's actually going to be stronger once we have this stacked full. We're literally gonna have like 16 inches of 2x6 right here versus just one every 16 inches. So it's gonna look a little funny, but it's gonna be incredibly effective. All right, give me 8.
What?
Give me 8.
There you go.
Yeah, no, just 8 pull-ups. 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, 3 fingers. 8, 9,
10.
That's good. Well, we'll do more reps throughout more sets throughout the day. No, give me 12. What is it? It's 4? I forgot to count. 5, 6. Good job, you did 6.
It hurts my fingers on the I-beam like that because you're not grabbing it, you're like this. Now when it comes to I-beam number 1 versus I-beams number 2 and 3, obviously we have the size difference, but the other difference is their location relative to the subfloor that I'm standing on. So I-beams number 2 and 3 are going to be touching the bottom of the subfloor that we're standing on, where I-beam number 1 was on the bottom of the floor joist. So with I-beam number 1, we had about this much room that we could play with above the beam to work with. But since these ones are going to be touching the bottoms of the floor right here, we have to take our winch and get it considerably higher because it's got this metal piece on the end that won't crank up inside of there anymore. So we basically need to elevate our winch. So we're gonna try to make some sort of board header system going across. Our winch will be more or less up here. And then when we pull up, we'll be able to suck our I-beam straight to the bottom of the floor. And then we'll be able to get everything shimmed and into place. And we also have an extra helper today. He's riding his bike. You got socks and sandals on, dude. We got this side double T30'd over here off of this post. The other side is double T30'd off of this post. And then we got two verticals running down right on top of floor joists. Those have a T30 in them. And then we are double T30'd on our winch. So we got this thing mounted about 3 feet off the ground. We are going to be able to get our cable pulled all the way up to the bottom of the subfloor, which is what we need to do. We got the battery all wired up. This thing just needs to be turned to engaged mode like that. And we're ready to crank.
The dilemma that we have is that we cannot go any higher because the chain is going to hit our floor joist. So we need to take the chain off and actually bottle jack it the rest of the way. But the problem with that there is no safety net. If something goes wrong, the beam is just going to go swinging down. So I'm going to try to install the post going crooked a little bit. So when it goes up, it will correct itself into the position, therefore being kind of a safety net. And I hope everything goes fine. So now, as I'm thinking about it, I-beam is all the way into that cavity, which there is no insulation behind there. And once it's there, we're not gonna have any access to put insulation, so that means we probably should find a chunk of styrofoam or something and stuff it in there, and then slide our beam into there. That would be the right thing to do. But the good thing is that this section is rather easy to slide. See how it walks on this part? So we're gonna walk out of there and find a piece of insulation and hope that this block is not gonna crack on me. Well, it was a waste of time because I did not find anything that we can use it as insulation. And the solution to this I came up with is going to be inserting the beam, leaving about 2-inch gap from the back rim board. And then once we have the material for it, which is the expansion foam in the can, we'll drill holes and stuff our tube right in there and fill it all up pretty good, so it will fill up the entire cavity in there. Other way. Well, we're all the way in there now. All we have to do is draw the line here. So now we have a reference point and we'll just back it off about 1.5 inches. Or 2 inches or so.
Beam number 1 is in place. Beam number 2 is in place. And we got our winch in position to be able to lift beam number 3 up in place. Here we go. Last beam. Beep, 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 beep. There is honestly no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Hanging up these beams that are incredibly heavy, it just puts you on edge. You don't want to talk a lot because you're just focused on the task at hand. But after our little back and forth with the jack, and then we put up a post, and then we end up lifting the jack, and then we take the post out, and then we crank the jack up more, put a new post in. After doing that back and forth about 15 times, we now have I-beam number 2 and I-beam number 3 in place. They are all the way over our exterior foundation wall over there. They are over our LVL beam in the middle. So now we are going to take a bunch of 2x6s and we are going to fill this entire cavity right here. So that way they will sit right underneath of our I-beam number 2 and I-beam number 3, and then they will hold everything up, and then we will have everything secured, and then we will be done with these I-beams. Hey Roman, give me 8 with the pouch on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 8, 8, 8.
Done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good job.
We got our 2x6 wall in the middle now. Take a look at this thing. We ran out of 2x6s down here. We have more out in the heated shop, but we don't really want to go get them right now. So this will be good enough to support everything up for the time being. We'll get a couple more added up inside of here, but these things are screwed like every 10 inches going up back and forth between every single one of them. So this is going to be super strong. Plus they're screwed to the bottom. Plus they are screwed to the top. Now, I don't know how many pull-ups Roman and I did today off of I-beam number 1, but this thing is the perfect pull-up bar and it's installed. Look at this. We don't have our ugly intrusive poles in the middle of the room anymore. They're on the side and they are going to be hidden inside of the wall. So we are never going to have to look at them once we get our wall made. Just look how nice, wide open this is. We still need to get our old wooden LVL beam down, but we got some screws on this side of the I-beam that we can't get up in there and get, so we got to figure out how to get those out. But we got that I-beam in over there. Things are hanging off. We do need to get the welder back in here, or I guess Zach has a welder that we can use to be able to finish up our finalization with this weld job over here. And then I-beams number 2 and 3 over here. Look at that. we got those things sitting in there. So right now they are currently sitting on exterior foundation wall, and they are sitting on the middle basement wall, but we do have a little bit of pressure still on the center post. So we are going to have to make some sort of metal configurations that'll come down on this wooden LVL. See how there's a split right there in the middle? That's because these are two separate beams and they meet right on top of this pole. So we're gonna have some sort of metal configuration that comes down, welded to the bottom of the beam, and then we're gonna end up drilling through the beam and the metal and then bolting everything together. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing on this side. So these beams right here, both of them will be actually hanging off of I-beam number 2 and I-beam number 3. So everything on I-beam number 2 will be on this side of the crack going this way, and everything on I-beam number 3 will be on the wooden LVL going that way. It's kind of cool that Roman and I were able to do what we did today because, well, I've never set I-beams like this before. I mean, if I've worked with I-beams, it's like out in the open like this, where you can come up with a skid loader and set them exactly where you need them. And that's not very hard to do, but figuring out how to get them up in the ceiling like this and get them maneuvered under stuff, it's just super cool to see what Roman and I were able to do just by putting our minds together. Mostly Roman, he's been the mastermind on a lot of this. I just come up with hey, could we put an I-beam there? And then he's like, yeah, I think so. And then he just figures out how to make it work. So good job, Roman. Thank you, Nick, for coming and doing the welding. And ladies and gentlemen, we got our I-beams in. Next up on the project list, see this big wall right here? We'll take a good look at it because it's not going to be here very much longer. We're ripping this thing out next.